tonight. We are really looking forward to going through all the weekend's football action. It is actually the last round of Premier League games on a Saturday. We're at the penultimate stage of the evening. I'm looking forward to talking through with, well, how do I introduce him? Our elite tipster. There you go. Gio Mackey's joining me this evening. Good evening, Gio. Just remind us, how'd you get on last week?
It was a mixed bag. Unfortunately, I was right about Villa and they beat West Ham 2-0. I got Spurs horrendously wrong, which will reflect in our predictions tonight, I think. I thought they would actually win last week. But last week we were quite confident that Juventus would go through, and they did. And we also picked out 1-1 at 70-2, so that was a nice wee result for us.
Yeah, definitely. And I must confess, I was a tad surprised by the way Madrid played, but I watched their game against Valencia and they nearly threw that away. They managed to get a point in the end, but it's not good enough for them to win the league really over there. So I was pretty shocked all in all with that result, but we did predict it. Juventus played exceptionally well, and I still personally will be backing Barcelona to win the game, but I don't think it'd be nearly as easy as people think it will be. And you know, we've seen Chelsea manage to do it. They managed to beat heavy odds-on favourites in Bayern Munich, so anything can happen. But let's start with this weekend. The first game we looked at on the blog, which is on our Google Plus page that you can take a look at, was the Southampton at home to Aston Villa. Interesting game. Two teams that probably have had a mixed bag of a season, really. I mean, Aston Villa, if you told them they'd be sort of surviving, because we think they'll be safe, and they'll get to a cup final, they'd have bitten the hand off you. But for long parts of the season, their fans have suffered. And as for Southampton, the rocket's falling out the sky a little bit now, I think, there. But their home form has retained its strength for most of the season now. What do you think about this game, Gio?
It's a hard one to call, isn't it? Southampton have been a bit flat recently. I think you watched them last week and you said that you thought they were a bit iffy against, was it Leicester they played?
Yeah, Leicester really, I guess it's one of those things. Leicester obviously are fighting for their lives, and they just looked so much quicker, so much faster with the ball, ready to go, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but Southampton, they're still only a point behind Tottenham, and now, like we touched last week, they're only a point ahead of Swansea, and Swansea could really make a late surprise here. They're the ones with the momentum behind them, I think. But they are unbeaten in their last 4 home games. And like you said, Villa have got the FA Cup final. They're probably safe now. So I do wonder maybe a few players are maybe looking at that game at Wembley. I think it was a few weeks ago we were saying that when it comes around to a team like Villa, you don't want to get injured. You don't want to miss that game. But I don't know, it's a tough one to call. It's not one I'll be betting on personally, because I was looking at the value and I don't think there's much. If I was pushed, I would say Southampton, but 4-5, it's a bit short for a team that's been out of form recently.
No, I think that's very fair. Yeah, if you gave me £1, what would I put it on? I've written on the blog, actually, I'd go for both teams to score in this game. I think it's around even money with Betway, which I think is very fair. You've got a team that, frankly, you know, Villa will concede goals, but the one thing Sherwood's got them doing is scoring. Someone said to me, I think they're not going to be up for it because of the fact that the FA Cup's on their mind. They're still not mathematically safe. And I mean, imagine the unimaginable, and you've got a Sunderland win, a Hull win, and a Newcastle win. Suddenly it's still all to play for. So if I'm a Villa player, I think I'm playing for our survival, but I'm playing for my cup final place. You know, I want to get that. You know, I want to be in that team. So from my point of view, I think they'll definitely score goals. Southampton at home have been better, so I'll tip up both teams to score on that game. I think it's not revolutionary. It's not going to make you rich, but if you want to watch the game and have a bet, it will last 90 minutes. And for me, you know, I'd probably have a look at Benteke if he's a half decent price, maybe. What about yourself, Gio? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with that. I was looking at that Pella at 7-4 any time. Like you talked about his home record last week, and the last home game against Tottenham, he got them both, and he was really good. But the thing I like about him, he's powerful in the air. Now, I obviously watched Villa last week because they were playing West Ham, and it was a game of 2 halves. They were all over us in the first half. Didn't get our half, but then the second half, I thought it was quite surprised because they just retreated to their box and held on for that 1-0 win, which I thought was a bit strange considering how dominant they were. I thought they would have came out and went for the kill, but they didn't. They just retreated, and they were lucky because we had that goal disallowed. It was offside, but I don't know, against a Southampton side with more to play for, they could punish Villa if they do something like that again.
I think, from my mind, I don't see this game as being a particularly interesting one. It's on TV. If you're going to sit and watch it, I'd have a little flutter either way on probably any time goal score or something like that. Or I'll put up the both teams to score at even money. TV games can be notoriously bad, but I think there'll be goals in this one. Final word, Gio, what do you reckon? Anything on the overs, or you just play both teams?
I would quite happily take both teams to score. Like I said, I wouldn't want to pick out a winner, but both teams to score at evens, quite a fair price actually, to be honest with you.
I just think it's one of those games that, unless someone's got a gun to your head, why would you want to try and predict the winner? Because is there any result in this game that would shock you? A draw's not unfeasible. A Villa win certainly isn't unfeasible. You probably expect Southampton to win.
You would expect so, but like we said, 4-5, a bit short, but both teams to score is actually better value.
Yeah, I mean, it'll keep my interest in a game that could potentially be a bit of a drag, to be honest. So for me, that's what I'll be tipping up. We better move on then, because there's plenty of other action to look at. And we've got the now relegated Burnley, who host a team that probably have gone under the radar a little bit this season, Stoke. I'll take your views on, obviously, the fact Burnley have gone, first of all. But what do you think about Mark Hughes' Stoke? Come back to that one once you've filled me in on Burnley's campaign. Give it a little assessment.
I don't think they've been that bad, actually. I know they're relegated, but it's still not been a disastrous season for them, has it? I think everybody was expecting them to be gone at Christmas time. So the fact they've hung on quite well, bearing in mind how much money they've spent, and their squad's quite the same team they had in the Championship, I think they can be quite proud of themselves. And I'm glad they stuck by Sean Dyche, and I think they will next season anyway. I think he's got the most secure job in England right now. And but like I said, they've done well. Ings has done well. I think I would have liked to have seen them with Vokes for the whole season. I think that was kind of like a massive disruption to them, having him injured for such a long time, their campaign. As for Stoke, like you said, they've gone under the radar. If they win, they'll secure the top 10 for this season. They'll probably secure 9th place as well. It'll take a good few results to go their way in the last day for them to drop down to 10. So, but yeah, what do you think about Burnley?
Do you know what? I think Sean Dyche has done a fair job. I don't think he deserves Manager of the Year, but considering his resources and, the Burnley board, I suspect, have turned to him and said, look, this is the way it goes. We're not going to give you much money, but you've got a job whether you get us relegated or whether you stay up. I think his mandate to be the manager and continue being the manager is still there. I don't hold any fears that he's going to struggle. My only question would be, I still think they'll lose a few players in the summer. So as long as the board give him some money to replace some of his better team, they're going to need goals in the Championship. You can't get away without a good goal scorer. You only have to look at the teams that have gone up this year. They have had goal scorers that, a Troy Deeney, somebody like that will get 20 goals. So if they're going to lose some of their better players, that's fine. Sam Vokes might get a bit of a more of a leading role. And if he stays fit, he could possibly be a little outsider for top goal scorer. But I won't be mad to back Burnley, personally. I'll probably let that one go for next year. But we'll come on to that because we're going to have some shows about anti-post football as we go along later in the summer. Something to keep you all entertained with. As for Stoke, from my point of view, I was shocked last weekend by how bad Spurs were. And I've actually written them up as one of the best away bets this weekend at 2-1 with Bet Victor. What's your thoughts on the game, Gio?
Yeah, I've got that bet. I wrote down Stoke at 2-1. I think Hughes has done very well to keep them motivated, despite the fact that their season's been over for quite a while, actually. We've seen a lot of teams just completely die. Unfortunately, my team is one of them. But Stoke's kept going. They've kept getting results. Another one that I like is Charlie Adam. I think it would be silly to ignore him. 4 in his last 6 games. He just keeps scoring, does he? He's not everyone's cup of tea, but he has got a wicked left foot on him. But
he's on a lot of the free kicks as well, which I think is always a massive. If you like an anytime goal scorer bet, I'll be honest, I am a fan of them. I don't necessarily think they're the best value. I'll probably do. If you're lucky enough to find a bookmaker who can do it, I like the each way Ackers or each way Lucky 15s on first goal scorers, because you've got 4 midfielders in there that take penalties or take free kicks. you can get about 10-1 around some of the value bets.
That's what Charlie Adam is, 10-1 and 24-5 for any time.
I think anything around the 10-1 mark, as long as you know that they're a player that will get 2 shots a game, probably minimum, which he will in that sort of contest, I think that's great value. And listen, he's not scared to have a go. He scored arguably the goal of the season against Chelsea. The keeper was pretty poor, to be honest, to let that one go. But, you know, he's not afraid to shoot from outrageous distances, and he plays the 90, which I'd imagine he will, as long as he doesn't get sent off. You've got a value bet there. I just think Stoke to win that game at 2-1, I'd bite the hand off of anyone that's offering that. What's your thoughts on that, Gio? 2-1, fair price?
I think so, but I think you have to remember that in the last 6 games for Burnley, they haven't conceded more than 1 in any of them. They've had 2 clean sheets in that last 6 games as well. So I think the bookies are maybe thinking they've only let in 4 in 6 games. So goals will be hard to come by. But like we're talking about, Adam's got that ability to make something out of nothing from quite far out of the box. But remember, the 10-1s with Bet365, and if it's a 0-0, you get your money back. So there is that safety net, if you like, because I think 0-0 is a great possibility for this game. But I don't think there'll be much goals, but I think Burnley's the type of team that'll go down with a fight, even though they've gone down. I think they'll be able to just.
They're not a QPR, which we'll come to later, which I suspect could be anything, which will be an interesting. Well, we'll look at that one a little bit later on. But yeah, I'm gonna firmly go with an away win. Gio, do you want to just give us a little bit of a call on it and tell us if you got a fancy either way on the result?
I'll say 1-0 Stoke. I had a look and that was 8-1. A bit short for me. I normally look for double figures if I go for a correct score punt, unless I'm really confident. I'm not that confident. And I think at Stoke at 2-1 is a lot better value than the correct score.
No, that to me is fair. I don't think you're saying anything out of turn there, to be perfectly honest. Couple of questions. You're just saying Stoke for next season relegation candidates. I disagree, but do you think Mark Hughes? I don't know. I think you've got to wait till you see who's come up and what happens in the summer before. You know, he's going to get a bit of transfer money. The board will want top 10 finish. I don't think they'd be obvious candidates for next year's relegation.
No, they don't spend a lot. I think it was something like his net spend at Stoke's been really small. Actually, Mark Hughes, I read something about it, and it's been quite impressive how little a budget. But you have to remember he's got Odom Mingy, who's been out injured forever, who is a really good player, and he's also got that. Is it Bojan? Is that how you say his name?
Bojan, yeah, Bojan, who I actually tipped up to one of the stars of the season. He produced a great goal, then broke his cruciate ligament. So yeah, if he can get back to full fitness, he's a talent.
Yeah, he's been injured for ages, but they're still winning without him, and I think he's probably technically their best player.
Well, this is a young man that came through the Barcelona youth system, was then allowed to go out to Roma, where he scored some good goals. You know, he is an obvious proven talent, and it was probably one of the signings of the season. I thought on paper, didn't work out that way. Such as life. I'll just leave you with what the tipsters are saying. I'm just having a little look at the app, and we've got at the moment. Stoke have got 39% of the vote to win the game. Then it's the draw actually on 32%. So no one's tipping Burnley up, but plenty of people think it's going to be Stoke or a draw, which is fair, which makes sense. We'll move on to, well, I think if this is an end of year review, we'd call them the utter clowns of the league. It's QPR, who are already relegated, versus Newcastle. Now I can see you laughing, Gio, but it has been shambolic at QPR. They've got players there. Someone said last season they had a bigger wage bill than Atletico Madrid and Borussia Dortmund. I'm not saying money is a guarantee to success, but you'd expect it to keep you in the Premier League.
Yeah, I think they've been really poor, haven't they? Then all this talk in the week about bad eggs being in the change room and stuff. Well, surely that's up to the management to clamp them out, if you like. You know, Chris Ramsey talking about Vargas wouldn't come off the bench and go on. Twice he asked him he wouldn't go off. Well, why has he not dealt with it? You know, Tevez tried at Man U and look what happened. You know, he got absolutely annihilated for it. You know, or City. So it was at City Tevez did it. Yeah, City Tevez wouldn't come off the bench in the Champions League game.
Correct, and he was being very difficult about it, and he then found himself heading off. It just disappoints me because I've got friends that support QPR, and you know that. They shouldn't. They've got no right to be a big team. But you remember the QPR that used to exist in the Premier League in the 90s, and they played exciting football. Had some good English talent. I remember Les Ferdinand, Trevor Sinclair, real players that would put it all in for the cause. They have not got that now. Joey Barton talks a great game on social media, but just I never ever felt, even under Redknapp, and then it'll all come out in the wash, I'm sure it will. But when he cried off with his bad knee and then started doing punditry only 2 weeks later, the writing's on the wall there. They didn't go out and get the manager they should have got, which would have been a Lau drop, or broken the bank to try and get a Pulis-like character. I don't think they'd have had the material to work with either way. But then Newcastle, who are battling relegation, pressure's off QPR now, and I suppose a lot of those players will be trying to get themselves back in the shop window, if you like, to get away from QPR. Do you think Newcastle are a good bet in this game to get anything?
No. I know they've got someone to play for, QPR don't, but I've got here QPR 21-10. Next year, I wrote, if QPR weren't down, they wouldn't be nowhere near that big a price, I don't think. Now, I know you have to take into consideration the fact they're down, but this week, as we spoke about Bad Eggs, they've got, I believe, they've got them out of the club. The loanees are gone. Zarate's back at West Ham, and he was one of these people that was a disruption, if you like. So perhaps there is a wee bit of a backlash with some of the other players who fought for the clause, like Barton, Clint Hill, Richard Dunn, the ones that will put their body on the line for the club. And I just wonder if that might be reflected on Saturday, a kind of like a stand up and be counted kind of thing, because no one likes bad news and all this spotlight on the club. And
well, when you imagine that you've got to play in front of those fans that will be baying for blood, I'd be amazed if they're not booed onto the pitch. We see teams getting booed off it. I'd be booing them on it personally as they come out. I think it's going to be very surreal for the players. Just to let you know, the OLBG tipsters are in complete line with you. They're all back in QPR. QPR was 46% of the vote. So at the moment, we're liking QPR, which I understand the viewpoint on. I do think it's got dire 0-0 draw written all over it. The last time Newcastle scored a goal away from home, let me just check my stats here, 11th February.
I've got something like that down. I wrote down here that they've only got 2 in the last 9 away games.
Yeah, so you've got to go back to when it was cold and snowy before they even scored away from home. I appreciate that probably coincides with a couple of their leading forwards missing, but it's very hard to just walk back into a team and score goals. Not many strikers can do that. They need consistency. And I wrote in my notes for the blog that I just couldn't have a bet on this particular game. I would leave it well alone, because it's another game you're not going to be surprised by anything. Newcastle could win 4-0 and save their season. John Carver's a hero, but they'll have beaten a destitute QPR side.
Yeah, they went down with a whimper last weekend anyway, but the one stat that I like that's going to push me towards QPR and another bet is Newcastle being behind in 12 of their 18 away games at half-time. If the match is finished at half-time in the Premier League, Newcastle will be 19th. And we've seen how often it was Leicester that within 10 minutes they were like 2-0 behind or something.
Yeah.
If QPR come out the traps quickly, I just wonder if they can get something against Newcastle. West Brom opened the scoring as well last week. I know Newcastle got the point, but again they went behind. And Charlie Austin 6-1 to score first. And we spoke about players putting themselves in the shop window. And I think there's 2 players in that team that clubs will be looking at. It's Joey Barton and Charlie Austin. And I think at 6-1, I think that's a good price for a team at home.
It does take the penalties as well. I know he missed a horrendous penalty that would have helped keep them up, but he will be putting himself up forward to take that again. I'm sure he will. And you're correct. His goals this season have been the one thing that have kept that team afloat. I would like to see Charlie Austin at a team that's he to my mind is probably up there and could fit in. I don't want to upset Spurs fans, but if you lost Harry Kane, he'd look a bit of a ready-made cheap English replacement. Nowhere near as good, but he will score goals at that level, and he's proven to do it in a lesser team. So I don't think he's going to go to a top 4 side, but I do think he's around that fair to higher table. Even a Liverpool might take a chance on him if they're getting rid of Balotelli and Ricky Lambert. I like Austin, and I think he's been the one bright spark in that QPR team this season, for my money.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I'm quite happy taking it 6-1. But Newcastle, I don't get them. I mean, I think they were lucky to get a point against West Brom. Actually, I only seen the highlights, I have to admit, but it did look like West Brom could have scored more. But
I will tell you now that I think Newcastle will get out of it, and I think in some ways, if I'm a Newcastle fan, I might want us relegated because it might make our chairman dig into his pocket more. I mean, could you imagine the irony if it's your team next weekend, next Sunday, that relegate them? Big Sam relegates the team that the fans didn't like him, and he can turn around and say, well, I did one thing and I kept you up.
Kevin Nolan's in that team as well. He's been on 99 Premier League goals for ages now. He's saving it.
About the same as red cards, I think, for him at the moment as well, I'd imagine. Right. This would have been a relegation 9-pointer, but I think it won't be. That's Sunderland hosting Leicester. Leicester's great form has seen them surge clear, and they're not safe yet, but they more or less are. It would take quite a miracle. We should just touch, actually, Gio mentioned this last week, Newcastle still have the worst goal difference by quite a margin. It's by 4 goals to Hull, I think, at the moment. Now, that could be huge. If teams picking up points here and there and end up on level, going down by 4 goals, it's a hell of a swing to try and find. But they might need to score a few, Newcastle, in that victory that they're going to try and get this weekend. But going back to that, yeah, Sunderland versus Leicester, Gio. Any thoughts on this one?
It's a tough one, isn't it? I know everyone thinks Leicester's safe, but see when you look at the league, they're only a point ahead of Sunderland. So if Sunderland win, that's Leicester right back in it. And so I thought they were safe as well because they won 6 from 7. So then when I was just preparing for this and I seen that they were only a point ahead of Newcastle and Sunderland, I thought, well, hang on a minute here, because if they lose, that's Sunderland ahead of Leicester. Newcastle go ahead of Leicester, and it could be between Hull and Leicester next weekend. That's what we love about the Premier League, though, isn't it? The last game of this game is the games I would have liked to have seen on TV this weekend, but they don't know in advance what it's going to be like at the bottom. But it's one that I'm going to be looking at with intrigue. Sunderland were very lucky last week. I watched the Sunderland-Everton game with interest, and they were jammy. Everton should have scored, and then
that summed up Everton's season, didn't it? That Man United game, then the Sunderland game, are the 2 games that you can look at that Everton team, and people would want Martinez out on the basis of the result, but they'd had their chances, they just couldn't finish.
Yeah, Sunderland's goal, I tweeted out at the weekend, it was Sunderland's poorness, if you like, that scored them the goals. There's deflections going in, it hit Defoe and the hand went in because Adam Johnson's shot was so awful. It was going to hit the corner flag, just hit Defoe.
It was odd, wasn't it? I remember sat there watching, thinking that if you're trying to claim goals like that, well, but they don't care. And the managers come in, and I'm amazed that Dick Advocaat's managed to get that Sunderland team by hook or by crook. They're there. Result-wise in this game, I wrote that I thought that 23-10, which was generally available, I felt the draw was probably the best outcome if you want to back on an outcome, just because I think it would suit both teams quite well.
Yeah, I get that point of view, but I'm not
going to say it's an Italian style. We're going to pass the ball backwards and forwards and then 0-0 before anyone accuses me of some sort of alleged match fixing. I don't think that at all, but I can just imagine both teams will go for it. I can see both teams getting a goal and just sharing the spoils. They both need 3 points to cement them, but a point would probably be enough for both, and they're not going to go crazy. I just don't see it being one of those games where it won't have the intensity and blood and thunder, because I think they both know Sunderland, this is the last chance to get some serious points on the board. They face a Chelsea and an Arsenal team that won't have a lot to play for, but I would be surprised if they'll pick up a lot away to them.
No, I think that could play into this game, because Sunderland, like you said, have got a 4-goal difference over Newcastle. But if they draw tomorrow, obviously stay 4 goals. But then they've got to play Arsenal and Chelsea, and that could have depends how they turn up and what Arsenal side turns up, really. I think Chelsea probably wouldn't score that much against them anyway, 1, maybe 2 at most. But I think Arsenal could tear into them if they were allowed to play football, and if Sunderland attacked Arsenal, they would open it up. And that 4 goals could be wiped out without Newcastle having anything to do about it. So I just think that they're looking at this thinking they need to win, because I don't know. I just think, but I'm actually going to go for the Leicester win here. I know it's against what I've just said, but I've been impressed by Pearson. I've been impressed by Leicester recently. 6 from 7, you can't ignore that. And 9-5 is a big price for a side in that form. But again, another first goal scorer is Jamie Vardy at 10-1. I think he's been unlucky recently, not to score. And he's got a lot of praise from the manager as well. And he seems to be playing that central role. And I think he's kind of grafted that could be the difference tomorrow.
I like the way Leicester go forward with the ball. They will definitely need to reinvest next year to stay in the Premier League. Although I'm going to argue, and I'll do this in the anti-post previews that we'll get coming up, I don't think the league next year is going to be as strong as it has this year for teams at the bottom. I think it's not been a vintage year at the top, but I do think at the bottom there's been a lot of average teams. If a Newcastle or Sunderland survive, a Hull survive, they're almost certainly going to go out and spend 30, 40 million to make sure that does not happen again. Their chairman can't afford for those teams to be relegated. And it only takes another team down there to have a Crystal Palace-like season, and suddenly there's nothing in filling apart from the teams coming up.
Yeah.
I will give a nod to the OLBG tipsters who are 54% are going for the draw, so they agree with me. I think you're wrong, Gio. Sorry about that. But who knows? If it's a Sunderland win, we'll all look silly. But I'll put my neck on the line and say draw in that game as well. So it brings us nicely to a team that, if I had to give them some sort of award, it would be probably having the nicest holidays to be dreaming of when they got battered by Stoke 3-0 last weekend. Tottenham, my word, I anticipate that teams that with nothing to play for may not be able to be as bothered's not the right word, but I don't think the intensity's there. You know, you can be a professional about it, but if you've got nothing to play for, whether people believe it or not, it's hard to get that motivation to go out there and win a game. What they did against Stoke, though, was just absolutely let down their fans. It was dreadful. I don't know if you saw any of it, but they were poor.
I've seen a wee bit of it. I've seen the goals coming through, obviously, when I was watching the West Ham game. I was thinking, what is going on here? I stupidly tipped on him last week and they humiliated me. But you're talking about nothing to play for. The thing is, Tottenham has something. They still do have something to play for if they want into Europa League. It's still nothing to play for. But that was shocking, though, that result, wasn't it? And just getting a player sent off. And Enzonzi didn't even celebrate his goal when he made it 2-0. He didn't even bother. He just
sort of an acceptance that he was going to be on the winning team that day. I must say that I'm surprised at this, and I'll go into detail in a moment. But you know, Tottenham have got over half the votes at the moment on the site. They're being tipped up to win at 1.8. I couldn't be touching that with a barge pole. And I've actually put up in the blog we wrote for our Google Plus page. I put up West Ham as the best value. Hull as the best value away from home. They're 4-1 with William Hill. That's a wrong price for a team that need a win.
Yeah, definitely. They're 2 points behind Newcastle and Sunderland. The points no use to them anymore. Okay, both Newcastle and Sunderland lose, it might be okay going to the last game of the season, but you can't take that risk. They're all playing at the same time. They can't risk settling for a point. I agree with you. I'm surprised at how many people are tipping Tottenham, actually. Cam Keno on Twitter last night, the Tottenham fans said that he thought Hull would win as well, and that's coming from a Spurs fan.
I will say 33% have then gone and tipped up Hull to win, and there's only probably about 10 votes in it at the moment because we're still quite early. A lot of our tipsters won't start till tomorrow morning, so you've got to keep an eye on the app, and it will change. But for me, I just think at 4-1, you've got one team that clearly couldn't be bothered to do it away from home. I don't understand what's going to change at home. Don't forget, Pochettino's already said that Brad Fiedel, who's come out and confirmed he's retiring, will get 2 games in goal probably. So I'm not saying he's not capable, but this is a man that sat on the bench in third choice all season. Suddenly he's allowed to have a go. But to me, that reeks. This isn't a Steven Gerrard that's retiring. This is a man that's not been good enough to play for the first team for most of the year. Suddenly he's allowed to have a few. I'm never comfortable with that. If he's willing to change his goalkeeper, I suspect he's willing to have a little mix and match with his players. Don't forget, Spurs are going to have to shift some serious players if they want to sign anyone this summer.
Yeah.
That Bale money has been spent twice over now. You know, it's gone. And a lot of those players, I think Soldado will get shifted, might go back to somewhere, I could see him at Valencia, somewhere like that. But they're not going to get a lot in for these players, for what they paid. So Pochettino needs to take a look at what he's got and decide who's staying, who's going. So I'm not unconvinced it might be a bit of a mix and match Spurs team put out. And at 4-1, the actual tip I'll give as well, 16-1 with Coral, you can get Hull to win 1-0. Now, Hull barely score at home or away. If they're going to win this game, it's not going to be by a lot. Spurs looked toothless last weekend. I don't like backing scorelines, but at 16-1, 1-0 Hull makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I've got that written down as well. I said it earlier, 10 minutes ago, I only tend to back it's in double digits, and this was in double digits, so I'm happy to take on 16-1. Even the Hull Strikers are 8-1, and the Luco's 12-1 to score first, so it could be a massive scorecast if you fancy being, if you've got a quid, you fancy a flitter on, you fancy a waste, but 12-1 is quite a big price for that, but I have to agree, but also a bit controversial, but Livermore obviously got in trouble today. I wonder if that might spur Hull on. It's just little things like that that just...
I must say, Steve Bruce looked absolutely... I can't describe him, but he had a face that looked like all life had been... This is what worried me a little bit. I watched the press conference on Sky, and it wasn't really referring to that so much. It was more about the game, but you could tell that he'd obviously been worn out by it, and the worry is always, you can't allege anything, but if one player is caught for an offence, it is very possible that there are others that have been involved. You've then got the strain of an internal investigation at the club. He's lost out on a player that he might want to call upon, and it's very murky and messy for the club. It may band them together though, and they may have a bit of a, they may use it as a strong point. I think it's not ideal preparation, but let's be honest, it's not going to stop Hull playing 11 men on the pitch.
I'm hoping it's going to have a positive effect. I'm hoping the players can see, like you're talking about, Bruce is a bit deflated. The players will be able to see that, and I've got a feeling that Bruce is the type of manager that's loved by his players. He comes across as that kind of gaffer anyway.
He's got his own son in the squad, of course. He's loved by his players.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean, all of them though. But I think there's a game they're going to stand up and keep be counted for him. I think it's going to be tomorrow. It has to be tomorrow.
Yes, I agree. Although with the form that their opponents are showing for their last game this season, I wouldn't be amazed to see them get a point on the last day of the season.
Yeah, well,
a lot of
Huddlestone and Dawson back at their old trampoline ground as well. So
Tom Huddleston will definitely have a point to prove. He was one of the first young players Spurs signed and arguably ruined. And I still think he's a quality player. He may not be as mobile as you need to be in the Premier League, but if he went and played in Italy, I honestly think he'd be he'd be highly regarded in comparison to how we regard him in the Premier League. He can't afford to be all action. But yeah, I'll go with the 1-0. And I wouldn't say I'm confident, but I think at 4-1, I can let Spurs go. Spurs can ruin accumulators in the blink of an eye. They can be at a short price. They are still inconsistent. There is a mentality that will need to change at that club and some money to be spent if they're going to break top 4, which I just don't see them doing next year. But we'll come on to that in later on YouTube videos when we want to talk about anti-post bets for next season. Well, this is probably Gio's finest moment. I'm billing this as the battle of the clean teams. West Ham take on Everton, and there's quite a lot at stake here, Gio, isn't there? We mentioned this last week, but fill us in.
Yeah, the fair play league is between these two sides, I think. Liverpool are also up there, but they're going to qualify through the league, so it's one of these two sides. Sounds like the Everton fans don't really want it because of this season, because of what's happened, but West Ham fans are split. However, I can 100% tell you the owners for West Ham have come out and saying that they want this. They want to be in the fair play league. And Sam Allardyce's press conference today, again, he mentioned it. He said they want into it. So I wonder if it'll have an impact. But then saying that, last weekend at Villa, Amal Fontano kneed cleverly in the back of the leg, which he got hauled off at half time for it. But it just goes to show that when you've got fans around you and the game's underway, anything can happen, and the pressure gets to you. Of course it does. But I do wonder if it's going to be slightly a relaxed game tomorrow.
You can't legislate for stupidity of individual players, but what I could see is I went to scour the market as I promised last week we would. The best kind of value I could find is not that much of a value bet, but it's the only bet I'd want to have in this match. You can get between 0 and 3 cards totaled in the match. Doesn't matter what colour that is, at 8-13 with Bet Bright. I just thought to myself, well, they might pick up a yellow each, but the refs in the Premier League aren't card happy usually, really. You know, I should have found the average, but I couldn't find that.
Yeah.
10 minutes before I started, but I don't go as far. I wouldn't ever like to back on this usually, but it's just a bit of a novelty bet at the end of the season because, frankly, the result could go anyway. West Ham have been so bad, but Everton are so inconsistent.
Yeah, on the blog, I've gone for Everton to win 2-0. I've actually gone 1-0 Everton at 9-1. I thought Villa would beat us 2-0, but luckily they were still to win 2-0. So I had success last week. But 4-1 for Everton to win 2-0. I thought that was quite a big price, actually. I'll happily throw that in my accumulators. We just can't score goals. Could be Sam Allardyce's last home game. Touch me. But
well, you told me in the week that Rafa Benitez is the red hot man to be taking over.
He's the one that's been linked with us all season. He's out of contract in the summer as well at Napoli. He's got that type of thing about him that the owners could go for. Moyes was always the favourite, but he's come out and said he doesn't want it. He's staying in Spain. Who can blame him? The only other one I think could throw the manager is Bilic. I think he's a former player. I think he'd go down well with the fans. But if I had to go for one, Benitez, he's been back right into 4-5, and the second favourite is Moyes at 4-1. So I think the bookies are quite confident as to who it's going to be as well.
I'd like to see West Ham given a proper manager. Allardyce, for all his faults, he'll keep you in the league. But if you've got Europa League football, I think you're going to want to attract a different type of player. And someone that's got great experience in that sphere is Rafa Benitez. I just don't know if Benitez would want to come to London and manage that sort of team. You know, he did it with Chelsea. I still think his heart lies in the red half of Liverpool. And let's not forget, he's still got a house there. Brendan Rodgers starts the season badly. I just wonder if Rafa's holding out another crack at Liverpool. There's a little bit of me that thinks Brendan Rodgers, this season he's got away with, he's had a lot going on. He loses Sterling as we expect. He's then got another summer to rebuild this team. If they don't show instant results, he would have spent a lot of money and had 2 seasons to rebuild a team. Suddenly, I think he's vulnerable.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, we'll do shows about this managers and all that in the summer anyway, but I think he's under pressure, but I think he knows it. But I think it'll actually help him, Gerrard leaving. I do think that'll actually help him.
Well, that segues very nicely onto our next game, which is the 5:30 kickoff involving my team, Crystal Palace, taking on Steven Gerrard's Liverpool in his last ever home game. Now, I've written that I don't think this will be played like a testimonial. I think it will be blood and thunder. And Palace, you haven't picked up points recently, but if you watch the 90 minutes against Manchester United, you'd argue they maybe deserved a point. They had enough chances to take that. Then against Chelsea, I think the penalty was harsh. The trouble I've got is if you play well in those games and don't get anything, you're going to be due a bad result at some point. And I'm not saying our players are taking the foot off the gas, but a few of them have agreed new deals. And I wouldn't bet Liverpool 1-2 on far too short. But it's got to be a Captain Fantastic special, isn't it? Gerrard to score any time, that'll be the bet.
You would imagine so, but
it's short. It is short. I mean, I looked at it, 15-8 any time. But he's going to be listen, any free kick he takes, he's going to be aiming at the goal. Penalties will be his all over. I suspect he'll be off corner taking duty in the box, ready to head it in. If you want to bet in the game and you're a little bit of a soppy-eyed Liverpool fan, that's what you'd be going for. But how do you think the game will pan out? Have you got any faith that my Eagles could maybe take a point?
I'm not really any bets down, but I think Palace might be a bit of a party cooper here, actually. I know it motivates Liverpool, but it also motivates Palace, surely. Go out there and just ruin it. I know if I was a player, that's why I'd want to do it. You'd want to spoil the party. You'd want to be the team that ruined Steven Gerrard's last ever game at Anfield.
We ruined his season when we managed to peg it back to 3-3 last year. So it could become his bit of a team he won't ever want to be near again. But yeah, I would say with Palace, though, I do think they're coming towards the end of the season. I noticed that we have tried a few different things formation-wise. Players played not out of position, but we're having a go at a few different systems and things. So I wouldn't be backing us with any serious money. I think it'd be a good game. I can see that Liverpool players around Gerrard may struggle a bit tomorrow. this is the one game that Liverpool fans, having had everything else go by the wayside, will want to see a win, even if it's a scrappy 1-0. No one wants to go out on a loss. And they'll be really let down if Liverpool do concede. But there's players in that team that aren't going to be there next year other than Gerrard. Glenn Johnson's not going to be there. Now, either he's going to be fighting to show other teams what he can do, or he's going to be sat there thinking about, oh, I've got no team to play for next year, or, oh, I wonder if I'm going to move to this team or that team. I just think I wouldn't want to put my money on either outcome or the draw. It's not one for me. I hope Steven Gerrard gets a goal and we win 2-1. People take the mick out of Gerrard, but he's been a fantastic servant to that club. Whether he was forced to stay there or not, he's played well. He's done things that no one could dream of at your boyhood club. And it is a shame he's not won the league. He did deserve that. But I would be amazed if he doesn't come back on loan next year to Liverpool after they've sacked Brendan Rodgers.
You could see it happening, but I don't know. I think maybe in Gerrard's mind he would like to come back as a manager one day and maybe not to come back until then, because I think he must know himself his performances hasn't been anywhere near as good as they have been. Oh,
he has declined quite dramatically. And the phrase, a player's legs have gone. When you think about how we remember Steven Gerrard, or you will anyway, in the FA Cup final that he ruined for you. Sorry to rub that one in, but he must have ran about 20 miles in that game. And maybe he did so much at a young age and played such a physical position, he couldn't adjust to sitting deeper. And he just wasn't that sort of player. There's nothing wrong with that. Michael Owen peaked at an age because he had pace. When he lost his pace, he lost a lot of his ability. So I take nothing away from Gerrard. I think it's a shame that he gets such stick from football fans who obviously don't like him. The slipping over thing, it's funny, I guess, but you've got to show him a bit of respect as well. So the first Sunday game, better move straight onto this one. I wrote on my notes, good luck if you're trying to pick this winner. Swansea at home to Man City. A City team that I just think, are they playing for the manager? Yaya Toure might be leaving again. Aguero's future got questioned earlier in the week. What do you think on this one, Gio?
I'm going to be unpopular here. I'm going for a home win.
It's 4-1, isn't it? I think.
I haven't looked at the OLBG app. You can have a look at that, but I'm going to be massively against the crowd here. 4-1 is ridiculous. They won 5 of the last 7 at home. City have lost 4 in a row away from home before their 1-0 win at Tottenham, and we've spoken about Tottenham. And that 1-0, I thought Tottenham were actually just as good as City, not the better side. And it was kind of like a classic counter-attack from City. It was Silva running the length of the pitch and playing Aguero in. Swansea scored first at the game at St Manchester. Oh, it was Bonnie, of course, but he's no longer there. But at the Liberty Stadium over the last 3 seasons, it's very even. Both won 1 each and been a draw. So I don't know, but the other stat that I like, it's probably irrelevant. I think I'm the only person who looks at this, and I do it just for like a novelty thing, and that's the referee, and that's Clattenburg. In Man City's last 3 games with Clattenburg in charge, they've not won. In Swansea's last 3, they've won. So that's convinced me. I'm going for a home win on this.
Mr. Clattenburg comes in for all sorts of stick. I think the nicest thing you can say about him in that sense is he seems to enjoy being a referee. The meanest thing you can say about him is, wrongly or rightly, I feel that sometimes the attention ends up on him. And that's a good referee should barely be noticeable in a game. That's what I always say. Whereas Clattenburg does seem to make the papers, more than other referees need to, shall we say. Yeah. But you're not alone. There is some support on the app. I've just had a look, and you're looking at 4.75. So I think that's a very fair price for a home win. Plus, it's a tradable price. Swansea go 1-0 up after 10 minutes. You've got an option. The cash out, if you're playing on traditional bookmakers, would be there. Or if you're on the exchanges, you can look at that as well. So for me, I couldn't back Man City at this stage of the season with stolen money. I really couldn't, because if the rumours are true, and I mean Guardiola's said no, I'm not coming in, there's a possibility you could have a Rafa Benitez come in for a caretaker season. Jurgen Klopp is now free. To my mind, something will change at one of the big clubs. Carlo Ancelotti's probably going to get sacked. He won the Champions League, which saved his job last year. He's not going to be winning it this year. And I suppose a bit like the big transfers we see in the summer where you have to wait for one to move, it could be a case of waiting to see when one manager resigns, gets fired, suddenly it's going to trigger a few different moves. And with managers, I don't think teams will hang around this summer because there's so much at stake for all those clubs I've mentioned.
There's a lot of talent of managers out there, I think, which is different to most summers. Most summers you're looking at trying to persuade them to leave. Then you've got the massive Harry Redknapp's 40 million buyout cost to get him for the job. But I think there's a lot of talent out there for free, and I think I think Ancelotti's going to get the sack as well. Like I said, he's not won Champions League, not won the league. His team seems to be completely under rest, and I think he is going to be one of the biggest. If City do get a new manager, I think he's going to be their main man to get. It has to be. Who else could it be? I think.
But Ancelotti would be ideal because he's a serial runner-up in everything he ever enters. I mean, he'll come second in anything. It just seems to be his nature. And I do feel for him, but if you lose that dressing room at Real Madrid, you've lost. You don't think you're a top-class manager. Mourinho lost the dressing room, still won things. That's the difference. So we shall see. And then probably the game of the weekend to finish us up on the Premier League, which is Manchester United taking on Arsenal at Old Trafford. And it was, I think, 11 years ago, pretty much to the day, that we had the Invincibles of Arsenal winning the league. Now, Arsenal have looked good this year, but they're nothing like the Invincibles that existed for them. I still think they're an absolutely massive bet for going to Old Trafford and taking the points. I'll let you come in on it first, and I'll give you my reasoning afterwards. But take us through your view on this one.
I've gone for the Arsenal win as well. They won the last 5 away. And I know you spoke about the Invincibles, but I think let's be honest, the talent in Premier League now is a lot different to it was back then. I think there isn't a gulf between top and bottom as it was back then. But yeah, I don't think they're as good as that team, obviously. But Man U've lost 3 of their last 4. They won at Palace, and like you said, it could easily have been a draw. I think Fellaini's goals through an error at the back through Palace when Speroni came out for it.
Bad goalkeeping, I must say.
He had a strike a lot because Carrick's still out. Is Rooney out as well, is he?
That was going to be my reason. Wayne Rooney today confirmed that he will. So who on earth? They might as well play Fellaini up front because that seems to be the tactic that they go with if Rooney's suddenly dropped into midfield. Robin van Persie's featured less and less towards the end of the season. Falcao, I think that they've had the stroke of luck of all lucks not having to sign him permanently. I mean, he will go down as the most expensive mistake of a loan player they've ever had. So for me, I just thought Arsenal at 21-10, and that's pretty much across the board. I thought that was a great price. So to go away to Man United when they're going to have a player like possibly Welbeck who'll want to prove a bit of a point. They won't. It's not Old Trafford of old. There's no fear. And don't forget, Arsenal need to bounce back. They shouldn't have lost, arguably, to Swansea, but they did. And they've got a cup final coming up soon. And Wenger's got enough midfielders to put 2 good teams out. You'll be playing for your place in that cup final. And whether you believe in the magic of the FA Cup or not, it's the only silverware Arsenal are going to win. So you think you'd want to be on the pitch for it.
Yeah, I think you spoke about Fellaini going up front. Now he's playing into Arsenal's hands. I think with Mertesacker at the back, I think they've got no problem with his height. And you spoke about the FA Cup when Arsenal won there in the FA Cup in Coquelin, just completely shackled Fellaini for that game. I think he could do the same again. I'm really impressed with him, actually. I think he'll be one of the players to watch next season for Arsenal.
It's amazing how much he's improved just for actually having, and this will be testament to whether the big managers have dared to do it next year. Arsenal, maybe through having to, had to play him. He had to get Premier League minutes. He wasn't on loan at some rubbish little club. He was at, I think, Charlton, and my friend that supports him said he was terrible. He couldn't believe he's the same player. There's no substitution for Premier League experience. And that's why you see Mourinho playing Loftus-Cheek last weekend and changing things around a bit. And you've got to blood the youngsters through. And it's probably a bigger debate for another day about English youngsters from academies not getting the chances or British youngsters. Because if they're not allowed to give the game time, I think the average starting age of a Premier League footballer is about 26, 27. So what are they doing in their mid-20s? On loan at Championship and League One sides, which is great, but it's not Premier League intense football.
No, I do agree, but Sanchez 2-1 to score any time. Does that take your fancy as well as mine? Or?
Yes, that to be fair, I'd probably take that over the Arsenal win price. I think he is their main threat. He has been sensational for them this year. Yeah. I think the one thing Arsene Wenger needs in the summer don't go and buy any more midfielders, Arsene Wenger. It's the top and the bottom of this picture needs to look at. A quality goalkeeper. Break the bank to get Petr Cech. He'll be fine for 3, 4, 5 years. He's a goalkeeper. They go on forever. Look at Brad Friedel. And then get someone up top. You know, Giroud's a good player, but I don't think he's an Arsenal striker for me. I don't think he's good enough.
He's injured too much. I do like him, actually. I like Giroud, but I think he's a bit too injury prone.
It's a different option, but, you know, this is Arsenal. You know, you think of their strikers. You know, Henry, Bergkamp. Sanchez is of the ilk that he can score enough goals to be considered an Arsenal striker. Giroud's not. He looked like he fit in better at Stoke sometimes.
I think that's a bit harsh. I like Giroud. I rate Giroud. I think he's just been a bit unlucky this season with injuries and that, but he does look lazy at times. Sometimes you spend a money on him to score. Watching him almost like player cam, he's the ball's going down the wings and he's just throttling about, you know. I'd probably, if I wasn't doing Sanchez, I'd probably look at Ramsey to score before Giroud. I suppose put it that way, which kind of proves your point a wee bit. But I don't know. I don't think he's that bad. He's better.
I think I'm probably being a little bit unfair, but for me, I just think if Arsenal can spend £40 million on a midfielder this summer, they've got to go and spend £40 million on a striker. But hey, I'm not Arsene Wenger. He's got them Champions League football for however many years running. He's probably going to get an FA Cup final, and the fans still won't respect him. So what can you do if you're Arsene Wenger? I would probably say, well, I'd give up, but there you go. There's one game this weekend that I probably didn't prepare you for. I haven't really looked at it in too much detail, but Chelsea-West Brom game, bit of a dead rubber. Chelsea let me down last week for my big double, of course. I must say, if I could have been live blogging it, I would have told you to not put any money on as soon as I saw that team. When I saw Mikel starting, my heart sunk.
It was clear what Mourinho wasn't overly bothered about the win, wasn't it, when they had Zuma and Mikel and Loftus Cheek out and Remy. There's no bad thing about those players, but it's not exactly their first 11, is it? You could.
They almost scored too early, and Liverpool were playing a strong team and obviously had a bit of a point to prove. You know, I just felt disappointed. Like, I thought with the Villa half of my nap double in the bag, I felt pretty confident until I saw the team. And then I saw the start of the game and I thought, oh, it's great. And then they crept into it. I don't know. It's a shame that Liverpool don't turn up every week, because I do think they had a bit more to them. Chelsea West Brom. I won't be touching anything in that game particularly. I think I wouldn't touch Chelsea now till next season. I don't know how you know what's going to go on, or at least look at the team needs maybe.
No, I think we'll see a few more young players getting some game time.
We'll see a lot more Drogba. I expect he'll be given his ceremonial leaving.
I wouldn't be spicy check and go, and I think he's going to do that. I think he's going to rotate massively. He might rest Terry for the last couple of games. You know, there's no point.
I think John Terry will want the record for playing all the minutes in the Premier League. I think he's on course.
I suppose, yeah.
Which is a hell of an achievement for a defender of his age. So, respect to John Terry, whatever your views on him, he's a hell of a defender.
My player of the year, actually.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that, and you do wonder if he didn't have his reputation and his past, I think they'd be clamouring for an England recall for him next year. And I do wonder if it's still in the back of his mind. I don't think it's been completely ruled out by Terry. I really don't, because there's a big tournament next summer. If Gary Cahill gets injured or Jagielka, I can't think of many centre-backs I'd want playing for England.
There's not much quality out there for England. I mean, that's the one place I play short on. And like you said, he's never turned his back on England. He'd always said he's available, but I think it's just, like you said, it's away from the football and pitch, isn't it? It's a bit of pressure from the media not to pick him because of, you know, the reports about him and stuff.
I definitely sense that between him and Rio Ferdinand, things have defrosted quite a bit. I noticed that Rio wrote a very nice article basically complimenting on his defending, saying he'd been exceptional this year. And obviously after the sad passing of Rio Ferdinand's wife, first thing Terry said when he was being interviewed on the pitch after the Premier League win was, you know, thoughts with... and I thought, you know, it's okay, it's probably good PR that he said it, but it felt thoughtful. And I would love to see them publicly bury the hatchet and move on with life. And who knows, we could have John Terry back in an England shirt. I'm not sure it'd be the way we'll end up, but, you know, well, I think from an England point of view, take the politics out of it, he's a great defender to have, and he scores goals. I don't think Jagielka does enough for that for me.
No, I quite agree actually. I'm not really an England fan, so it's harder for me.
Funny that, Gio. I'd never have guessed.
That's very racist. No, but I know I don't mind England actually as much as I should hate them because of my allegiance to West Ham. If you like, I do kind of wish them well in tournaments and that, and I think they're cutting their nose off to spite their face a wee bit as far as John Terry is concerned. You know, he's not the first player to be in the press for something naughty, but yeah, other players have still pulled on the shirt afterwards, haven't they? So,
yeah, and like I say, we'll focus more on England next season as we get towards hopefully a championship where we could see most of the home nations turning up, including your beloved Scotland.
well, we'll see. I think so. Actually, I'm quite confident. Like you said, we've got internationals soon anyway, and coming up. So
I know. I must confess, I'm a bit of a fair-weathered international football fan. It's World Cups and European Championships for me. The qualifiers, I can't get too excited. But we'll finish then, just to touch on the playoffs. And has anything caught your eye this week with the finals all being sorted? As we speak, Middlesbrough is still 1-0 up. You've got the Farmers' Derby tomorrow, as they like to call it. I didn't know if you'd had a look at that.
it's a tough one for me because I'm going to be biased here. I've got money on Ipswich to go up.
A nice price, about 9-2, I believe, at the start of the playoffs.
Well, I got them at 11-2
Oh,
last weekend because I took a punt they were going to be in the playoffs. And, so I've got them on that. So I'm wondering, I've been trying to look at ways I could maybe back Norwich and then back Middlesbrough in the final because they're both favourites, and then I'd be guaranteed profit either way. But yeah, I'm biased here, but I'm hoping that Ipswich should be poor away in the league before the playoffs. 1 win in 7, just 4 points out of that 7 games. That's dreadful away from home, isn't it? It's not very reassuring. Norwich, won 3 of their last 4 at home. But the opposition, I don't think, is all that great. Sheffield Wednesday, that in there. So I'm going to be a bit boring and say it's going to be a draw, 14-5. I think it'll be 1-1 again. I was hoping to do Ferry Sears to score first. He's 10-1, but then I seen most of his goals come at home, so I wouldn't.
Yeah, I do wonder what Mick McCarthy's plan will be. I saw him speaking in the week, and you know, Mick McCarthy is a man that will have that dogged experience of being there time after time. But in some ways, I like a manager that hasn't necessarily been there, seen it, and got the T-shirt because they're willing to take a bit more of a risk. I've got a feeling he'll play for the extra time penalties. I don't think he'll be interested in winning a game in 90 minutes. I just sense that Norwich are going to have the crowd behind them. They're going to want to attack. It's very boring, but I actually think Norwich will win it in 90 minutes. I think it'll just be a split decision. Something will happen, you know, an early goal, and they could crumble a wee bit. I like Ipswich, and I do think they're a team. At the 2, I'd probably rather Ipswich had to go back up because they've been out of it for longer. But we should see. Interesting. I'm pleased to see Borough probably going to head to the final. They've got a second, so it's 2-0 Middlesbrough at the moment as we speak. I don't know if they'll choke in the final though. They've thrown away some really silly games this year, and I can't trust a team like that. Whereas I think Norwich are just about peaking, and if Ipswich get there, it's just a massive bonus for them. But yeah, I think your 11-2 might be safe.
Hopefully they can get to the final, and then I'll be able to get profit either way. But it's a tough one. I probably won't put money on it myself. Actually, this game.
I do find playoff games incredibly hard to predict. You know, I backed Swindon to go up for most of the season at nice prices. They then choked. The playoffs came around. I then backed the team that they knocked out to get to the final. I thought Sheffield United were going to get there. So you can't account for these games. They genuinely are. Form goes out the window, and it's the age-old adage of sort of who can not choke. I think really in playoff games. You know, Phil Brown needed a couple of penalties yesterday for Southend, who were heavy favourites at one stage. Wickham looked quite good when I saw them yesterday evening, I must say. They caught my eye. There's been plenty of goals in the last couple of weeks, and then I noticed that I was a bit surprised that I thought the Championship ones there might be more goals, but the Swindon 5-5 game was absolutely mad.
Yeah, that was a surprise. Like, obviously Bob Slay's a Swindon fan, so I felt for him. Like, I couldn't stand that going 4-1 up and it coming all the way back to 5-5. Like,
I don't back over 8.5 goals very often. I hadn't done it on that occasion either, sadly, but it's one of those things. And I suppose the one thing we will mention, we're going to be covering it. We will do probably a show Friday night like we've done tonight for the game Sunday. Any early thoughts around the cups and the playoff finals? Are you going to have a little bit of we're going to have a little competition, I think, between us, the app, and the tipsters on here. We're going to have a competition to see who can pick each of the playoff winners, the FA Cup winner, and we'll go with the Champions League winner. That's 3 weeks away. It's quite a big break. Are you going to try and make a case for Juventus, or is it Barcelona?
I think, obviously, there's 3 weeks away. Anything can happen. Someone could break their leg tomorrow or something. But I was very impressed with Juventus against Real Madrid, though. They just completely nullified Madrid, didn't they? They just knew what they were doing. And they've got so much passion compared to other teams, I think. There was a free kick. There was a foul on, I think, Tevez. And the ball carried on for a wee minute, went out, and then all the defenders and Buffon came flying out the goal up to Clattenburg. And I just asked him why he wasn't given, but I thought, the fact that happened 2 minutes ago, and it was just a free kick in the Madrid's half. It wasn't just at halfway line. I thought, that passion can sometimes count for a lot, but Barcelona are just something else at the moment, aren't they?
I must say, I think Madrid shot themselves in the foot. They went desperate pretty quick, and when they started putting the ball into the air, I didn't know why they were doing that against big Italian defenders that would always be winning those battles. I thought it was very surprising. And I feel for Gareth Bale. I think he was made to be a bit of a scapegoat over there. And yes, he didn't have a great game. But the one thing he did do was he tried to make something happen. The one player that went missing, and whatever your views on Messi and Ronaldo, we're not going to go into that now because it takes forever. But I don't see Messi disappear when things are down. Ronaldo went hiding in that game. He didn't want the ball. He wasn't. If he's 2-0 up, Ronaldo's one of the best players in the world. If he's 1-0 down or looking for a goal, I don't trust him. Whereas I trust Messi and Neymar, more. And even if they do pick up an injury and they lose one of those key players, Suarez and Neymar should be enough firepower to get past Juventus in my book. But we'll touch on that sooner rather than later. Gio, I want to thank you tonight for bearing with us. We had a couple of technical gremlins at the start, but we're all good. The video will go up onto YouTube if you missed anything, you want to catch up. I'll pop a link on Twitter as well. Keep those questions coming in, and we'll speak to you guys soon. Thank you for your time this evening, Gio.
No problem at all. Before you go, I have a massive bet. If you've got, I was just doing this earlier. Put my 4 teams in, checked the odds, and I was like, how much? So I was quite surprised.
The pen is out. I am noting this down. Gio. We're going to pull you up on it next week if it doesn't come in.
Well, you probably have to because it's 4 outsiders, if you like. But you could easily lose. But Hull.
Yep, I was going to say Hull's their 4-1 best price.
Swansea.
Yeah,
Swansea. I do like Swansea to remember. Everton to win 2-0.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you think West Ham won't do anything?
Yeah, and Arsenal. Without looking at the odds, guess how much that is as a 4-fold.
Oh, for £1, I'd say you'd be looking at around 52 to 1.
324 to 1 with corals.
Wow. Well
worth that quid.
I just really hope that West Ham don't do the unimaginable and let you bet down by scoring, Gio.
I know, but it's just for a bit of fun, isn't it? At that price, you can have a bit of fun. So.
That is a silly price. I'd love to know what the options are if you reverse that bet and went all those teams to win with both teams to score in the matches, because that would probably be looking at about 600-700 to 1 in that case.
Yeah, especially if you put Hull to win with a clean sheet or something. That would bump it right out. But yeah, 324 to 1 for that.
Well, I suppose you've given your crazy bet. I better give mine, and that's going to be, I like the scoreline of Hull to win 1-0 at 16 to 1. I like Hull to win away at 4 to 1 as a single. And I would probably have a little accumulator of Stoke to beat Burnley, Hull to win away at Spurs, and I would throw Arsenal in there. That's a nice little treble that'll pay about 25 to 1, I imagine, something like that, a little bit bigger. And it's just a nice little bet for the weekend. And if you're sat there waiting for Sunday afternoon and you're on Arsenal and you've got 2 winners in the bag, it's a nice place to be. Yeah. Thank you so much for your time this evening. We will be back next Friday to cover the final round of EPL games. Who can believe the season's gone so quickly? And we might have a bit of a winners and losers section. I'll type up the bets as well, so they're on the YouTube channel, so you can make sure that we're not after timing. Worst thing people could do. But these videos are accessible to you whenever you want, and I would encourage you to all download the OLBG app, where you can get people like Gio's knowledge for free on your phone, giving you a little help when you're in the bookies and you can't decide what's going to win. And if Hull come in, Gio will look really smart next week, and I'll look just as smart as him. Thank you for your time this evening, Gio, and we'll see you next week.
Take care. Thank you.